Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Africa Tech Festival and our Fireside chat today called Thinking Beyond Connectivity, Enhancing Service Provider Competitiveness Through the Fusion of AI Applications and the Intelligent Edge. I'm Scialabba, Senior Director of Marketing at Mavenir, responsible for marketing of our AI products. And with me today, I have two guests. The first is Srinivas Chitivelli. Srinivas, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Louis. And hello, everybody. My name is Srinivas Chitivelli. I am an Associate Vice President in Product Management at Mavenir. And I'm responsible for developing AI applications for CSPs, service providers, and also enterprises.
Great, thanks, Srinivas. Next, we have Joao Gomes from NVIDIA. Joao, could you please introduce yourself?
Thanks, Luis. Hello, everyone. So yeah, my name is Joao Gomes, and I work here at NVIDIA leading our Edge AI solution business development for telcos. I'm really looking forward for this chat with Luis and Srinivas, so very interesting topic.
Great, thanks, guys. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of have a conversation about 5G and AI and how it relates to service providers and the enterprise. And we'll just kind of ping pong back and forth, and hopefully we can get some good conversation going. So the first thing I wanted to open up with, and I'll direct this to you, Srinivas, there's obviously so much going on in the mobile industry. You know, we see 5G as the big headline everywhere, just about in all regions of the world. But could you just talk a little bit about how service provider networks have been changing really for the last few years now? And from a 5G perspective, what are some of the things that are being accelerated to support those changes?
Absolutely, Louis. So with the advent of 5G, enterprises as well as service providers are going through an evolution in the software stack, in the offerings that they provide. So with the growing demand of applications with 5G at enterprises, network providers have to ensure that their networks can scale with load, they can perform and continue to provide reliable connectivity and services. 5G providers have quickly identified a solution for it by embracing cloud-native frameworks. And by doing that, network providers can run their software solution for networks on a variety of infrastructure, including public cloud, private data centers, and even run it on the edge. Now, with addressing the problem of cloud-native frameworks, networks now have to converge these solutions onto a common platform. Networks provide a stack of software for different components of the solution. There could be AI applications or other applications that would demand hardware. Now, it's very important for the service providers to ensure all this software is running on converged platforms so that the service providers can optimize on the cost of hardware, the cost of power consumption, and whatnot. And finally, speed and performance is key for the success of 5G-based solutions. And these service providers have embraced graphical processing units from NVIDIA, where all the workload for crunching numbers, for analyzing data have been done faster than before. So a lot of changes happening in the service providers network with the arrival of 5G. Louis, I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's great. One more for you, Srinivas, though. Let's just shift to enterprises for a moment and talk about 5G. So what are some of the new enterprise use cases that you're seeing, and what challenges do 5G, around 5G, do enterprises have supporting those use cases?
So absolutely. You have So when enterprises engage different vendors for connectivity and for customized AI applications, right, their cost of ownerships increase. They have to now sync up with the service providers and for the solution providers like an AI application to ensure maintenance and deployments are done at the same time. So there are a lot of moving parts when enterprises are engaging different vendors for connectivity and for applications. So now we are noticing vendors or the service providers are building AI applications and bundling it as part of their network offering to their customers. So less vendors for enterprises mean less trouble points, and things can be done smoother than before. Okay, and the other point is there is a risk of vendor lockups. Enterprises are very cautious about preventing themselves for being locked up by vendors. So AI network providers have to be very smart about it, and they have to build open source based frameworks that will adhere to open standards, so that the hardware manufacturers, the network providers, they can develop solutions that are interoperable and reach wider areas of their networks.
Excellent. Thanks, Srinivas. So Joao, let's shift to you for a moment. So you're from NVIDIA. There's a lot going on between NVIDIA and Mavenir right now. But from an AI applications perspective, can you talk about the partnership a little bit and why it's so impactful for AI for both service providers and enterprises?
Yeah, sure. Great question. Well, we believe that artificial intelligence and 5G are synergistic, as Srinivas indicated earlier, and that's really the foundation of our partnership. In NVIDIA, we obviously believe that AI is the most powerful technology force of our time, and that every industry will be transformed and reshaped by it in the next few years. And we also observe that we are now entering on what we are calling the second wave of AI deployment. The first wave, which probably happened around 10 years ago, was about reinventing computing for this new way of doing software with AI. Back then, NVIDIA, together with the early adopters, mostly the internet companies, invented the required platform, chipsets, and capabilities to do that new way of developing software. Now, on the second wave, this is really about democratizing AI for the enterprise and the industrial edge, make it more usable and useful for enterprises to extract value from AI to their business. And if you think about this second wave, is really characterized by the explosion of connected sensors and things. These things are being connected and generating large amount of data, and often in unstructured format. Think like video cameras or even microphones, voice, right? This is unstructured video or unstructured data format that can only be effectively analyzed by AI. And 5G is the glue, is the connectivity fabric that connects all these devices and things together with edge to be able to extract value from the applications. And this is really the foundation of our partnership. It's really combining the expertise of NVIDIA in AI, Mavenir in 5G, to bring it together in a way that we can democratize and create useful use cases for enterprise around things like computer vision, natural language processing, AR, VR, and robotics. And this is pretty much in this partnership to democratize AI.
Okay, so trying to just get to a little more analysis on where the service provider sits in the ecosystem with the enterprise. Does a service provider, because they've historically been in a position to provide connectivity to enterprises, is there now a huge opportunity for them to kind of rethink how they package up their solutions for enterprise? We'll start with Joao, and then Srini, you can comment as well.
Yeah, I think absolutely there is a massive opportunity for service providers, for telcos in particular, to go up the stack and start offering more value to enterprises. As I mentioned before, the genesis of our partnership, which we call AI on 5G, is really democratize AI use cases together with 5G. And this is certainly an opportunity for telcos and CSPs because enterprises want to adopt AI, but they don't want to deal with the complexity that comes with the technology and with the infrastructure. They're really looking for this frictionless as a service experience where they can just use the use cases and the applications without needing to care for the complexities involved. And there are many use cases where you can see this in fruition. For example, if we think about a factory or manufacturing facility that is driving digital transformation, Industry 4.0, for example, it's a perfect opportunity for CSPs and telcos. we are all, as consumers, looking for this personalization, more product choices, better quality, so on and so forth. And this is the agility that is brought by the fourth generation industry revolution, or Industry 4.0. These companies, their goal is really to digitalize their whole process of product design, development, manufacturing, distribution in a digital, interconnected, integrated model that can be trained, that can be simulated, where you have sensors and things providing feedback in real time, right? That is really the whole grail of this business, to become fully digital, fully simulated, and be able to anticipate future demands. And 5G is really the catalyst to make that happen. 5G and edge compute are the catalyst of Industry 4.0 and digital transformation. We see around the globe governments realizing this, right, and enterprises and industrial conglomerates implementing these private 5G networks around edge compute to drive these new applications, right? 5G brings certainly the flexibility needed for this type of environment, the mobility needed for robots and drones and autonomous cars to move around, right? And when combined with edge, I think that becomes really the final piece in this puzzle to enable the consolidation of compute that today is scattered around the factory floor in a central location. And this is really the opportunity for telcos and communication service providers, right, to leverage their expertise in connectivity, in 5G, to help rationalize an environment like this, right, around the 5G fabric, edge compute, AI applications that needs to be brought together in a way that makes sense, that enterprises can use and consume for their benefits and efficiency improvement. So, very good question.
Excellent. So Srinivas, maybe you can dig into that a little bit deeper. When you look across some of the different Industry 4.0 verticals and use cases, I mean, what effect do they have, not just on the enterprise that's going to be deploying those use cases, but really society at large? And if you could, specifically, in Africa, how can you maybe make that connection?
Absolutely. So Africa, the continent, is a home for over 1.2 billion people. There are a lot of applications for AI that can solve real-world problems. The fastest growing digital technology that is making an impact is in the space of medical artificial intelligence, because the continent itself is so broad and deep enough. There are remote places where it is very difficult to get the right kind of treatment and aid at the right time. So Africa as a whole is embracing medical artificial intelligence to provide faster healthcare for mothers, children against infections and non-communicable diseases, right? Drones are also being engaged to deliver medication to hard-to-reach places. Agriculture is another fast adopting use case across Africa. Farmers are now using smartphone applications that are helping them to identify diseases and learn treatments to save their crops. Bankers are trying to use smart algorithms to review online applications, helping their customers who live very far away from the branches, so that they would get the funding on the right amount of time. So monitoring assets is another story. Electricity drives the country, and AI is being embraced to leverage drones and do this remote analysis so that these assets are monitored, so that insulators are detected for damage and fixed on time. The whole idea is to ensure there are no losses in production. So Africa is a continent where AI is quickly getting adopted. Slowly, we are seeing its reach in education, where children and scholars are using this technology like virtual reality and e-learning technologies to spread education faster than before. Back to you, Louis.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so another question for both of you. The successful integration of AI seems like it's more than just nuts and bolts of the technology. It really requires skilled operators and staff. So regardless where in the world you're trying to implement this, how can a workforce of the future be prepared for this type of shift, especially when you need to come up to speed on learning AI in a world that's quickly moving to 5G and beyond?
Absolutely. So for any typical AI project, there are two core pieces. At the heart of the solution is a trained model, a model that's going to analyze data and then give out a very acceptable result. Now, these models need to be trained. And training is where skill sets like a data scientist would be required to build the right model for the right challenge. Not all models are created equal, and not all models, well, I'm sorry, there are models specific for specific challenges. Okay. So thanks to NVIDIA's efforts in training, adopt, and optimization platforms, where subject matter experts or business users, like like a supervisor on a manufacturing floor, can quickly train data. But the challenge for training data is the actual raw data required for training. And there could be situations where there is not enough data required to train a decently converging model. But again, thanks to the techniques provided by open source platforms, there are techniques to augment the data with a very small set of raw data. There are techniques to generate synthetic data for a very small set of raw samples. So the more the variety of data, the better the models will be trained with higher accuracies. Now, finally, you have this model, you have this data, and you have built this without the intervention of a data scientist. Open source platforms, including NVIDIA, is offering a catalog of these pre-trained models so that users can start building their own solutions like Lego blocks, right? They can download, discover these pre-trained models from NVIDIA's NGC, NVIDIA GPU Cloud Compute platforms, and then go start building an applications. So to embark on an AI journey, the dependency on skills are gradually reducing. Enterprises realize that, look, the faster we build tools that the business user can drive the AI application, will fasten or accelerate the adoption of AI solutions.
Joao, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think Srinivas put it very well, and I think this is certainly one of the main challenges that we face: how to make AI more accessible and enable people to actually use it, right? And AI is generally complicated. It mimics human brain, creates these interconnected layers of decision, is based on very complex mathematics. It is complex to build from scratch, but should not be complex to use, right, and create value. I think that is the fundamental concept here. And in NVIDIA, our main focus is and has always been making the developers and innovators more productive. And the way we do that, as Srinivas highlighted, is through our application frameworks. We create hundreds of different application frameworks and SDKs and tools and capabilities to make it easier for innovators to use these new technologies to create value, right? A very good example is Metropolis, which is our computer vision framework that Srinivas highlighted, right? That makes it easier for anyone that has a good challenge that can use video as a sensor to create an application that can quickly generate value, right? And that is our work with Mavenir. Mavenir, an expert in 5G and AI, is using some of these capabilities and tools to create these use cases, like, for example, Industry 4.0 that I mentioned, but there are many more around AI on 5G, right? Creating these off-the-shelf capabilities, creating applications that enable someone that is an expert in the business but not in the technology to make use of this of AI to advance, create better customer experience and more efficient process and business. So that's really the goal of our partnership and both of our companies, I think. Back to you, Luis.
We've come to the end of the questions. Do you have any final thoughts on the topic you'd like to leave our audience with? Srinivas, let's start with you.
Yes, so I just wanted to highlight how things are coming together. So Joao represents NVIDIA, where they are developing tools to democratize AI. At Mavenir, we're building software for networking, 5G. We're also building software for AI applications, where we are putting these things together so that it is easy for business users to adopt it. It is easy for enterprises to manage it. It is the whole idea is to lower the cost of ownership and to boost productivity or the time to market.
All right, Joao. And
Yeah, well, I think well put it, Srinivas. I think the other thing to highlight here is how AI and 5G are synergistic, right? And how 5G is really the driver and enabler of many of these use cases. And we're just scratching the surface now. There will be many more in the near future. And I think the other aspect that we didn't have a lot of time to discuss, but is just the platform approach that you're taking here and the solution that is able to host 5G as a workload at the same time that is hosting these new edge AI applications like computer vision and AR, VR on the same platform that enables enterprise to make use of it and to use it as any other IT application that they are used to that can create more value to their business. I think that's one of the fundamental challenges that we are addressing with our partnership and our solutions.
great. Okay, guys, you've both been a wealth of knowledge. We really appreciate you taking part in this today. And on behalf of AfricaCom, we'd like to thank everyone for listening in, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.